So, we have looked at 4 of the 6 elements of escape. We're going to look at the last 2 ones before the break, and maybe go a little bit further as well. We'll see what happens. So, take another mendicant who says, I have developed the signless release of the heart, the animita ceto vimutti. I've cultivated it, made it my vehicle and my basis, kept it up, consolidated and properly implemented. Yet somehow my consciousness still follows after signs. So I'm not going to talk too much about this, because this is getting very kind of profound and very, not really relevant for the vast majority of people. But the signless release of the heart is the release of the heart where you don't see any, everything looks impermanent to you. How do we know things in the world? We know it through signs. Signs are the qualities of something, yeah? So you see something, like you see a cup, yeah? The sign of a cup, yeah? That's kind of the sign. It has a certain shape or a certain appearance or a mark or whatever you want to call it. That's how you recognize this as a cup. But that means you also see a certain kind of permanence to it. Yeah, a cup, but maybe it isn't really. Maybe if it's just something which is always changing, then can you really call it a cup? Does it really have a sign? Does it have something permanent that defines it? And the answer is, of course, no. Ultimately, everything is impermanent. And so the signless release of the heart is that you cannot really say anything about anything, because everything is always changing. So it's like the release of the mind through understanding impermanence. Everything always changeable, nothing really having a final sign, a final defining characteristics. A defining characteristic is a nice way of thinking about it. Nothing has a defining characteristics, because everything is always changing. And so that means that your consciousness no longer follows after those defining characteristics, because everything is always changeable. That's kind of the idea here. Something like that. But it's very profound, and usually the signless release of the heart usually comes with the stages of the noble ones, the Aryan stages. And so, yeah. Anyway, don't worry too much about this. I'm just going through it because it is there, and you can see why this is a very profound release. You're now released from all perceptions of permanence, of things lasting. It means that you are freed from massive amounts of delusion, basically, and you are an Arya already. They should be told, not so venerable, for it is the signless release of the heart that is the escape from all signs, of all senses of things being permanent or reliable or whatever. So then we come to the last one of these 6 escapes. Take another mendicant who says, I am rid of the conceit I am. And I don't regard anything as I am this. So you have, this means you've gone to the end of the path, really. You consider yourself to be an arahant, yet somehow the dart of doubt and indecision still occupies my mind. Right? I mean, the dart of doubt here is vichikicha, indecision is katankata, saying what? That, of course, means if you have doubt, you're not a stream enterer yet, nor have you really attained the jhanas properly, because that's also where the doubt is overcome, at least temporarily. And so if you think you have got rid of the conceit I am, you're actually a long way away from that. They should be told, not so venerable, don't say that. Don't misrepresent the Buddha, for misrepresentation of the Buddha is not good. And the Buddha would not say that. It is impossible, Reverend, it cannot happen that the conceit I am has been done away with, and nothing is regarded as I am this. Yet somehow still the dart of doubt and indecision still occupies the mind. For it is the uprooting of the conceit I am that is the escape from the dart of doubt and indecision. Once you go to this stage of the path, you don't have any doubts anymore. You know what is good, what is bad, what are the real teachings, what are the bad teachings. You don't not wavering on the path. You have internalized the Noble Eightfold Path. It's become part of your psychology. You know exactly what you have to do. You have a right view. You have understood the ideas of the Buddha fully knowing what it means. You understand dependent origination, you understand how it is that craving gives rise to rebirth, etc., etc., etc. Doubt is done away with. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, no more doubt. So these are the 6 elements of escape, or 6 areas of escape. And the opposing quality, which is a kind of oppression of the mind, has been done away with because you have developed the exact opposite. So the main point here is to develop the Brahma Viharas. This is the main point. And the power of these Brahma Viharas is to overcome all of these negative qualities, especially ill will. Ill will is the most important one to overcome because it's so destructive. It makes you do stupid things and it just drags you down in the wrong direction. These are the 6 elements of escape. All right. So now I'm just going to have a quick look at Majjhima Nikaya 122. This is the longer discourse on emptiness, the Mahāsuññatasutta. And it's just a short extract, and it again points a little bit to how to achieve the escape from things, or the release from things, or the freedom from things. And it shows the importance of sometimes why it's useful to go on a retreat sometimes, to get a little bit away from your ordinary life and these kind of things. It points in that direction. So let's have a very quick look at this. Ananda. And the context here is that Ananda was kind of sewing robes and hanging out with other monks. And then the Buddha says to him, Ananda, a mendicant, a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, doesn't shine who enjoys company and groups, who loves them and likes to enjoy them. Sobati is shine. Sobati means like to shine basically. So if you enjoy company and groups, if you like to hang out, if you like to socialize, if you that is what you enjoy in life, if you love that and you like that, then you don't shine as a mendicant. And shining here is obviously has to do with your mind. Your mind is not polished. Your mind doesn't become like gold. The Buddha compares the mind to gold elsewhere. Just in the same way as you refine gold, and when you refine it becomes shiny and beautiful, in the same way when you rid the mind of defilements, it becomes shining and beautiful. So for that to happen in the mind, you have to not enjoy groups and company. It doesn't mean you reject it necessarily completely, it just means you don't enjoy that thing as something that is important in your life. That's very interesting here. And so what does the Buddha then say? He says, it is simply not possible that such a mendicant will get the pleasure of renunciation, the pleasure of seclusion, the pleasure of peace, the pleasure of awakening when they want, without trouble or difficulty. So if you rejoice in company, it is impossible to get the pleasure of seclusion. It makes sense, because the pleasure of seclusion means precisely that you're not hanging out in company. So all of these pleasures that you see here, the pleasure of renunciation, pleasure of seclusion, paviveka sukha, pleasure of renunciation is, what is that? I can't remember now what that is. It is Nekkhamma sukha, probably Nekkhamma sukha, paviveka sukha, and then you have the of peace, this is the upassama sukha, and the pleasure of awakening is the sambodha sukha. So you can see here, these are very powerful things. The pleasure of renunciation, nekkhamma, what is it that you renounce? Well, basically you renounce your interest in the 5 sense world. That's what renunciation means. Nekkhamma is the opposite of kama. Kama is the 5 sense world. So it's the giving up of that 5 sense world. The pleasure of seclusion, paviveka. Paviveka is related to viveka. Viveka is twofold. Seclusion of the body, seclusion of the mind. The pleasure of seclusion is what you get when you are secluded. So giving up the sensual world, being secluded, this sounds like samadhi. It sounds like the jhanas. And of course, it is the jhanas. This is how the jhanas are defined in the suttas. The pleasure of peace, upasama sukha. Yeah, the upasama is the highest kind of peace very often in Buddhism. Upasama can be the peace of nibbana, for example, of awakening itself. So another one of these very beautiful words that you find in the suttas. Again, it refers, all of these things refer to the jhanas. And the most powerful one of all is the last one, the pleasure of awakening, sambodha sukha. Sambodha is related to bodhi, bodhi, bodha, with a sam in front. And so when you get to the jhanas, they are the pleasure of awakening. Isn't that kind of extraordinary? It's one of those really extraordinary things that says something about the Dhamma that we often don't really understand. These samadhi states, they are so profound in their own right, they are so lofty and so blissful, so elevated, so bright, so full of light and beauty and all of these kind of things, that they are on par with awakening itself. When you look at what the Buddha and the great people at the time of the Buddha did, especially the great monastics, some great lay people as well, this is what they did. They indulged in the jhanas. Why? Because that was the happiness that they had. This was the happiness of awakening. It means you can achieve them easily once you are awakened, and it also means that the pleasure is on par with awakening itself. That is how deep they are. And so if you cannot, people sometimes complain, when am I going to get these jhanas? Well, you would be almost an arahant already if you got the jhanas easily. And so, of course, you cannot expect these things to happen. If you get a little bit of happiness in your meditation, if you enjoy it, that is what matters. That is the important thing, because then that is will then carry on and bring you forwards on the path. So enjoy the little things you have. Don't look towards the impossible. But if you are on the right track, then you get these things without trouble and difficulty when you want. And this is kind of the idea here. And you almost have to be an Arya to be able to do this. And the enjoyment in company gets in the way. The enjoyment of socializing gets in the way of that. This is why it is useful to sometimes go on a retreat. This is why it is useful sometimes to go on noble silence, because it means that you, for at least for a short while, you let go of that enjoyment of socialization. Noble silence can be very beautiful. It can be incredibly nice if you know how to use it properly. It can also be oppressive if you find that you don't enjoy being silent. So again, it depends on how your mind inclines, whether you're able to enjoy that or not. But you should expect that the mendicant who lives alone, withdrawn from the group, will get the pleasure of renunciation, the pleasure of seclusion, the pleasure of peace, the pleasure of awakening when they want, without trouble and difficulty. That is possible. If you live alone, it is possible that you can get all of these things. It doesn't mean it happens automatically, far from it. If you go into seclusion at the wrong time, you go crazy rather than finding enlightenment. You get the anti-enlightenment, the madness of the mind instead. And this is true. This is a real problem. If you withdraw and your mind is full of defilements and all of these problems and all of these kind of things, actually you do go crazy. And so it is about right time and place, knowing when to do these kind of things. So very important to be open with oneself and honest about what is going on, if one is able to do this properly. When you are ready, then it is a beautiful thing. When you're not ready, it can be a little bit dangerous. So you have to obviously be a bit careful, especially long periods in seclusion, like months and months. That's when you have to be careful. Indeed, Ananda, it is not possible that a mendicant who enjoys company will remain and enter and remain in the freedom of the heart. So now we have the freedom of the heart again, the Ceto Vimutti, either that which is temporary and pleasant, or that which is irreversible and unshakable. So this gives you an idea of the different kinds of freedom of the heart, Citta Vimutti. You have the temporary and pleasant, that is like the jhana states, or the immaterial attainments, and then the irreversible and unshakable, well, that is arahantship, the final end of the path. So two kinds of Citta Vimutti. Irreversible and unshakable, this is the the arahant's liberation. Cannot go back. You cannot give up arahantship once you have achieved it. You are arahant once and for all, and that is the way it goes. But it is possible that a mendicant who lives alone, withdrawn from the group, will enter and remain in the freedom of the heart, either that which is temporary and pleasant, or that which is irreversible and unshakable. So, that is that little sutta about the greater Suññata and what I want to talk about next, I'm just going to very briefly introduce, and then we'll come back to this after lunch. I'm going to talk more about the idea, the development of metta, the Brahma Viharas. I think very often this is maybe not emphasized enough, the importance of this. Yes, it is very important to practice sila, to keep the 5 precepts, to be generous and all of these kind of things. But the Brahma Viharas, the metta and karuna, kind of support all of these other practices. Yeah, if you have a lot of metta and compassion, you will have sila, you will be generous. And this is how the mind gets purified. So if we can kind of approach these ideas of the Brahma Viharas and understand a bit more about them, that will be incredibly useful on our path. And then we are developing the thing which encompasses all the other qualities almost like within it, in a sense. When you have the Brahma Vihara, it's like the whole path really develops as a consequence. So it is really worthwhile considering this. How can we slant our mind, incline our mind in such a direction, in such a way that actually these things happen more naturally and more easily in our practice. So this is what is going to happen after lunch, and we're going to have a look at this sutta and a number of other suttas also on this particular topic. So now if you have any final questions and comments, and then we will go off for lunch after that. So please, yeah.
Ajahn, actually, when you read on, the answer is there. I wanted to ask about practice the heart's release by equanimity. How to do that when we have vicikiccha?
Vicikiccha, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's only when you enter the stream, then the doubt is off. So, but before we enter the stream, how to practice equanimity? But seems that when you read on, it doesn't match equanimity with vicikiccha.
Yeah.
It's actually matching it with desire.
The conceit I am, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The conceit I am is at the later stage. Is signless release of the heart. I don't know what it means.
Yeah, vicikiccha is a signless release of the heart is related to the seeing signs, permanence, and vicikiccha is related to the conceit I am. It's the opposite of the conceit I am. So when you don't have the conceit I am, you don't have any vicikiccha. So as long as the I am is kind of interesting, as long as you have the feeling of I am and the view that you exist, then you also have doubt in a sense. It's kind of fascinating actually, that combination there. It's like the I am throws spanners into the work because it gives a distorted view of reality, of what actually is important. The I am will make satisfying the sense of I important. I want this, I want that. The I, the ego, will always want to be satisfied in the world, and so you won't be able to see the world straight because of that. And so you will be you will be inclined towards biases, desires, and ill will, and think that is important. So I think that may be the connection there between the idea of I am and doubt. And that's why when you enter a jhana state, because the I is kind of very subdued after coming out of a jhana, especially the doing side of I, and because that is subdued, that means also doubt is gone. You have clarity, you see what's happening. Yeah. So, but it is a kind of an interesting point. So, thank you. Please.
Yes, Ajahn, I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
First question is probably something very basic. What is the difference between metta and compassion?
Okay, so metta is feeling friendly towards somebody. So you have a friend. So how do you feel towards a friend? You feel a sense of well-wishing, you feel goodwill. You have goodwill to a friend. You want them well. You want them to be happy. So it's a kind of love in a sense. You kind of have a love for this other person, and then you wish them well. May you be happy. Oh, I really want you to be happy. Oh, are you sad? Okay, you want them to be happy. So it is basically just a well-wishing to someone you like. Compassion is when your friend is suffering. And you want them to be free of suffering here. You don't want them to say, oh, I feel so sorry for you. Oh, please don't suffer. You want them, and what can I do to help you? And you want to help them out of that suffering here. So it's very closely related to each other. One is just a general well-wishing. You want them to be happy because they are your friend. The other one is you want them to emerge from suffering here.
Okay, thank you. My second question is from the previous sutta. For it is the uprooting of the conceit I am that is the escape from the the dart of doubt and indecision. Is this only related when it comes to doubt and indecision? Is this only related to the spiritual path, like you said? You know what is good or bad teaching. You have right view. Does it apply in ordinary life when I feel doubts, when I'm indecisive?
No. It just refers to the spiritual path. You know what you should be doing at any time. You know what is a good quality in your mind, what is a bad quality in your mind. You know how to progress your meditation. What is good and bad. You know what teachings are good. You can see a bad teaching from a good teaching. And because at this point, the rest of your life is not so important anyway. It's kind of whatever. Okay, good or bad, who cares? I know what really matters in life. And so you're not so concerned about those other things. And so, but those other things are more like worldly things. What is the road from here to Penang? I'm going to Penang. When is it? Tomorrow? Tomorrow I'm going to Penang. Or whatever it is. I'm going up north anyway. And then, I don't have no idea where the road is, and I don't really care where the road is. I'm probably going to get there anyway, right? Something is going to happen. Some magic is going to happen and I get there. So you don't really worry so much about those things. But these worldly things, even the Buddha, anyone doesn't really know about all the worldly things. It's about spiritual things. So yes, quite right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, Ajahn.
Good morning. Yeah.
Okay, back to the elements of escape, right? I'm having difficulty with this. I developed the heart's release by love.
Yeah.
Grammatically, it's a bit odd.
Yeah.
Is there a better way to? Because it doesn't make sense of heart's apostrophe as heart's.
Yeah, I developed the heart's release maybe through love. Does that help? Through by using love, I developed the heart's release. Yeah.
So meaning, I developed why can't we say I develop a heart that is released through love? Released through love. That's what you meant.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one is the MN 1.22. The second sentence. Enjoys company and groups who loves them and likes to enjoy them. What do you mean by likes to enjoy them?
It just means that you enjoy company. You are, yay, company, please come, enjoy, have sit around and talk and chat and listen to music or whatever, enjoying the company of other people. That's really all it means.
But
Yeah.
like Kalyana Mittas, we also love one another and we also enjoy one's company. So how?
Yeah. So.
So how do you differentiate? Thank
Well,
you.
it means that you have to have some friends. You have to have some kind of connection with other people, and that connection should be with Kalyana Mittas. But it still means that you prefer seclusion. You still prefer seclusion. That's what it means. So when you have to be with somebody, well, then you are with Kalyana Mittas. But still, ideally, you want to be in seclusion.
Okay, Ken.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Remember, there's a long way on the path before you come to seclusion. There's a long way. Only a small minority of people are really ready for seclusion, and so at that time you can then you enjoy your Kalyana Mittas until that point. Yeah. That's good. You have real Kalyana Mittas. That's wonderful. Okay, that's great. Okay. Anyone else before we head off for lunch? I think everyone is ready for lunch. One over there, not ready for lunch. Okay.
Sorry, it's kind of playing in my head whether I want to bring this up, but it's related to what you just said.
Yeah.
I think how we say, I mean, as in, what I want is to hear your views on like contemplation in daily life, or or studying sutta versus meditation. Because for me, I noticed a big change after I started meditation. Like before that, Dhamma is optional. A lot of people will hear it as Dhamma is optional. But only when I started meditation and I can notice the mind, then I realized actually Dhamma is like gravity. It's there every moment, whether you know it, you don't know it. It's like gravity, like unwholesome and wholesome. Your mind is either wholesome or unwholesome every moment. There's no in between, So when that kind of understanding come up, then the whole urgency, the whole, outlook and is changed in a big way, Even the way you listen to Dhamma has changed. Before that, before that, talk about myself. Before that, I don't even know that, like coming for Dhamma class, the way I listen is like different, It has a completely different impact. It's like optional, something I can consider, so I want to hear.
That's wonderful. That's great, and I absolutely agree with you, because if it is all theoretical, it kind of makes sense, but you don't really understand what's going on. When you feel it, this is kind of the whole point. You want to feel the Dhamma, and this is what you're doing. You kind of have an emotional reaction to it, and that emotional reaction, that is what really drives you on the path. We are driven by feelings, by emotions. We're not driven by intellectual ideas. This is kind of the idea of inspiration. Inspiration means that you feel something. That's kind of the idea, And that feeling is what makes you do things. And if you just have an idea in your mind, that doesn't really, in itself, is not very powerful. So that's great. And so, yes, so meditate. Carry on like that. And the balance between meditation and kind of doing other things, well, you have to figure that out for yourself, what works. But if you are able to meditate a lot without any more support, then make that the most important thing. And in fact, that is the most important thing. And these other things are just to kind of encourage you and help you and move more in that direction. So that's wonderful. So I'm very happy to, excellent. Carry on. Okay, everyone. So I think that is a good place to stop. So please have a wonderful lunch, and we'll see you back here at 1:00.